Today, I had the opportunity to sit down with artist and well known content creator Kira Sabin to talk about their passion for the federal duck stamp competition and experience submitting artwork to it. We hope you'll enjoy.
Thank you so much for agreeing to this interview.
Yeah, I love to talk about the duck stamp.
What got you interested in the duck stamp competition?
Well, in 2019, my grandpa, who used to be a duck hunter, he loves fishing, big into wildlife, he told me that on the duck stamp, which I had never heard of, they have art, and he thinks that it's a competition if I was ever interested in entering it. And I was like, Grandpa, why didn't you tell me this sooner? Of course I'm interested in entering that. And then I learned everything I could about it that year, and that was the first year that I entered.
And where did your passion for animal and wetland protection come from?
I think I've always had that. I like genuinely don't understand people who don't like animals. They've always been my subject, usually in my art. And I've been heavily inspired by just like the Midwestern type of animal that we see all the time, like turkeys and deer and rabbits and stuff like that. So I think it just came naturally to me. And oftentimes, environmental conservation is kind of overlooked because there are lots of big issues going on in the world.
And it sounds like your family is pretty into it as well, if your grandfather's any indication.
Yeah, my family, there's a lot of hunters in my family. I don't hunt myself, but those in my family who do are like the most informed about the land and animals that I know of. And I've definitely been inspired by them and the types of art that they have hanging in their house when I grew up.
It sounds like when once you found out about that competition, you were pretty gung ho. You were like, "All right, I gotta do this. I gotta submit, even, even if I didn't win
Yes.
or whatnot." So really just finding out about it is sort of what made you decide to go for it that year.
Yeah, I can get pretty obsessive about things that I'm interested in, and I definitely let that one take me. And I'm kind of a competitive person naturally, just because I think it's good motivation and it's fun. And I loved painting realistically, and I loved animals, so it kind of felt like the perfect type of contest for me. So I figured I should just go for it.
What do you use for references when you're creating your submissions? Do you do your own photography or do you find reference images elsewhere?
I do now. I'm lucky enough. I saved up and got a good camera and a good wildlife lens. And I do go out and take my own photo references. In the earlier entries, I had to just look online and like mash different photos together to kind of make my own duck to not get in trouble with any copyrights. But now I'm fortunate enough to go take my own references.
Awesome. And you do something which I think is very fun, and you name the ducks in each of your competition entries. Tell me a little bit about why you decided to start doing that.
Yeah, I think it's mostly because I decided to start sharing my process online, and people really like having a name because it's easier, especially when the species is something like, here's my black-bellied whistling duck, and you're like, that's not very catchy. So the first year that they had names was when I first started sharing, and it was my two geese, and then my wife, she named those two. And from there on, people are like, what's the name? Pretty much every time.
And where do you get your inspiration for naming them, or is it just sort of like a feeling that you have?
I guess it's a feeling. There was one year, my most popular year, I think. Her name, it was a hen. Her name was Bucket, and that was just someone said you should name it, and I said, "Do you have a suggestion?" And a stranger said Bucket. I was like, "Okay, well, good job, you've named her," and it stuck, and that was her name.
Do you have an all-time favorite duck species?
I do. Well, I have a category of ducks that are my favorite, which are whistling ducks. I would love to see a silver fulvous whistling duck someday, but I have not. So of the ducks that I have seen in person, my favorite species is the spectacled eider, which was what I painted in 2024. They are just goofy little weirdos, and it's kind of insane that they exist at all with their proportions and their faces, and they just make me happy.
They're so colorful as well.
Yeah, it's a great green.
So in 2024, you did an interview with Stamp Ed and the American Philatelic Society. You mentioned you might go back and try to buy some of your favorite past duck stamps. Have you done that at all or still thinking about it?
I have, I try to just find them because I think that's more fun. Like we'll go antiquing and I'll always look if they have duck stamps there. And I should have counted. I forgot to count. I think I have close to like 20 at least now of old ones. I have the first one ever, which I was really excited about. I'm gradually adding to my duck stamp collection, and it's absolutely thrilling to come across them in the wild. But I have bought some online too.
Yeah, it is. It's really exciting that you have the first one because at the very beginning for the first one, they didn't want to sell them to collectors. They were really pretty hardcore on only selling them to hunters. And then eventually they kind of caved and started realizing that other people would want them too.
Oh wow.
So exciting to nab.
I love that. I didn't actually know that. And I happened to find it in my hometown antique store, which was shocking that I hadn't before and that they had that one. It was a great day.
That's a really good find for sure.
Yeah.
Have you looked at all of the duck stamps that have been issued, and do you have a favorite one?
I have looked at all of them. I went kind of crazy and I made on my own personal website, I put them all in order with links to their US Fish and Wildlife Service page so I could just like view them next to each other. My favorites have long been the same kind of, and I believe they are both Joe Hoffman paintings. And it's the Tundra Swans and the Northern Pintails of his. I love and look up to.
Yeah, that old saying that, lightning never strikes twice. Well, you have these three people that are related to each other in the same family, and they all have this amazing talent. It's totally wild to me.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure they have more brothers too that just don't paint.
I can't imagine being related to someone with that
No.
level of talent and fame. It would be really crazy. All right, let's talk a little bit about this year's competition. Which was your favorite entry this year, other than your own?
My favorite, I had two favorites that I thought would not win. And they were number 172, which is a very abstract cinnamon teal. I just was kind of shocked when we scrolled onto him, and it felt like the type of painting that we would like discuss and talk about in art college or something. I was just really impressed with whoever painted it, their forms and their color choices. And then my other favorite, which I sadly didn't think would win, was 283 because it has ducklings, wood ducklings. And I just knew that the judges probably wouldn't go for the duckling piece, but it was phenomenally painted. And they ducklings just always make me so happy. And I would love to see them represented on the stamp again. The one that I thought was going to win ended up being third place, 268 by Jeffrey Mobley. I just really wanted a bufflehead, and I was shocked that that 131 Bob Hotmans didn't make it to the third round. And it was a beautiful painting, and the foot is so cute, and I
I
think it,
love the foot. It's my favorite part of
yeah,
the painting. I think with at least this year's entries, you don't see the underwater view very much. So even to just see like that little hint of the foot I liked a lot.
yeah, genius. I would love to see more of that.
What did you think when they announced the judges? Did you recognize any of the names?
I did not. I don't believe that I've ever really known a judge, which I like, and they're always very impressive resumes that they introduce. They are qualified.
I can't imagine keeping that a secret as well.
I know for that long.
Yeah. So as I was watching the live stream this year, I saw your name mentioned so many times in the live chat. There was so many people saying they were there after following you and there to see how you did, but then they got invested in the competition itself. How does it feel knowing so many people tuned in and got interested in this contest and by extension, conservation because of you?
It's honestly baffling. It's hard to believe or hard to like wrap my head around, especially when it's happening in the live stream and it's like right there. And I can see like the numbers growing and everything. I'm so happy that they care and that they know what it is and want the program to last and are going to start buying duck stamps. That's always been my goal. And everyone was so kind on the chat. That's mostly just what I care about. And just like how many other artists can be supported through that is really, really special to me. And I don't know, I just can't thank people enough for like watching along and wanting to care about this thing too.
What did you think of the new viewers' choice vote they did for the live stream on day one? I was surprised that they did that, but I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, I was very surprised. I could not have predicted that at all. And then I was like, honestly, I was like worried a little bit because it's biased, but I'm also extremely grateful because people like what I do and liked Brimstone, so I really appreciate it. But I don't know. I don't know if it's something they'll continue or what it means or
Sure.
anything. It's just kind of a fun thing.
But I do think it was fun, and it does seem like the audience really enjoyed it. I do hope they bring it back because, it also gives people a chance who, may not win, but they can at least see that,
Mhm.
their time and effort is appreciated and whatnot. And that was something I noticed with the live stream audience too, is that it was just overwhelmingly positive for every entry. People had something nice to say, which is great to see.
I loved that too, and I hope that continues every year. And I know some people who like found favorites of theirs and can now look up who that artist is and follow them and support them, and that makes me very happy. I was also happy that it was Bob Hammond that got second place for the People's Choice too, because it's just funny that they would win both
Yeah.
and online.
How did you feel about the judging this year? While I was watching, I remember thinking, wow, I really can't believe some of these have been voted in while others didn't get a single vote at all to go to the next round.
Yeah, I think it's the same every year, but like for slightly different reasons that were like, I don't understand the judges. I don't understand what criteria they're really looking at. Some judges will have really strong opinions and some like everything they see, but seeing them in person does a lot. I want to buy reduction glass that they use to look at the stamp really small. I want to do that and look at mine in the process because that tells a lot. I think some really, really great ones got passed on because like there wasn't enough room to put stamp details on them or things like that.
Hmm.
But you truly can't ever predict what the judges will think or do. I will say though, because I've judged a junior competition, it's hard and it's like split second choices. And sometimes you're like, you have to hold up a number right now. And you're like, is it a 3 or a 4? I don't know.
Sure.
And you just have to do it. So, like, you can't blame them too
Oh
much.
yeah, absolutely. I can't
Yeah.
imagine being in the hot seat like that. Is there anything you learned from the competition slash judging this year that you'll apply to your next submission?
Yeah, I feel like I learn something every year. Usually by the end of the competition, I'm pretty critical of the work that I've done and I see its flaws and I'm ready to move on to the next one to try to improve them. And I think I learned out of this one just to be more loose and a bit more natural. Like I don't need to get too caught up on details. Just try to go for like a natural, fresh, distinct lighting feel maybe take it a little bit less seriously.
It's
Yeah,
really good to see such a wide variety of art styles and skill levels and just have that feeling that this is a competition, but it's also a lot of people just doing it because they are passionate about this subject matter.
for sure. And it's always so fun to see how many like there's 290 entries and the compositions of all of them are so drastically different. Like I know some are similar, but like the things people think of just for this rectangle are crazy.
Absolutely. What did you think of the winning painting? Were you surprised at all?
I was surprised. I knew it was Hotman. My guess was wrong about which Hotman because I thought it was Bob's. And I was hoping at that point that Bob would win because he only has three compared to his brothers who have six and now seven. So I was rooting for the underdog in that aspect. But I was surprised that it was the overall winner because it just wasn't on my list of what I thought was going to take it in the end. So I was surprised in that sense. But I mean, it's a gorgeous painting, and I understand why it won.
What do you actually think of the current duck stamp trend that does favor that more hyper realism? Would you ever want to see more abstract or artistic interpretations considered in the future while still keeping to kind of the spirit of the competition?
I have like kind of complex or like a little contradicting feelings about that. It's funny because like the Hotmans are the top dogs for this competition, but their paintings to me aren't actually hyper realistic. They're usually kind of looser than some of the entries because there are definitely some hyper realistic entries. And I think the Hotmans are a little bit more naturalistic, especially Bob. He's a little bit more impressionistic than his brothers, but I view them as natural as you can possibly get. And then there's hyperrealism, which does do well also. It's just funny how many slightly different styles there can be in the overarching category of realism. Everyone has their own personal style of realism. And I think some odd, like underdog paintings have one before.
It's wild to look at the progression of different design types that have been chosen for duck stamps over the years because you start out with like the engraved style of
Mm.
like, and then you go all the way to the present where you've got like more of this modern realism style, and it's fun to see that transition happen.
Yeah, I'd actually like to go back a little bit. Like, there's some fun, odd composition choices in some of the earlier winners, like a lot of diagonal type things. I'm
Hmm.
thinking of like a flying goose one with a strong diagonal, just like some more goofy type things in the past ones, and I think that would be fun to bring back.
If you could change one thing about the duck stamp competition, what would it be, if anything?
That's probably the hardest question for me. I think I would get pretty literal and I would say the funding. I know this program is run by only just like a couple passionate people, and I want them to have adequate funding. Like, I know the junior duck stamp program is kind of falling off a little. I just don't want it to be a forgotten part of the government. And I want it to have as much funding as it needs, especially to have like in-person judging each year. Sometimes that's on the table of whether it can happen or not. And I would love for it just to be able to be secure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Besides that, though, I don't know. I really love it as it is.
Sure. And the big question on my mind, and I'm sure other people's, have you thought about your entry for next year yet? Is there one of the eligible species that sparks your interest?
Yes, I think about the next year, the day of the contest, or even before. I'm always eager to jump on to the next thing. And they all, I say it every year, but this year really is one of the hardest to pick which species to do. They all kind of jump out at me. There's not like a clear favorite. I don't think. Like this year, I knew wood ducks were going to be the clear favorite. And Buffleheads kind of surprised me. There were so many Buffleheads, and I'm thrilled that they won. So I do have my eye on a couple species, and I actually have reference photos of all of them, which is not very good reference photos, but I have some of all of them, which I don't think has happened any other year. So I could go in a lot of different directions, but I don't quite want to say yet because I'm not decided.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
It's impressive that you have images for all of them.
I definitely don't have photos of all of them in their natural habitat. Most of them are from Ripley Waterfowl Conservancy, But I did see cackling geese, which I'm so excited that it's an eligible species. I saw them in Washington State one trip, and it was before I even knew what species that was, and it just looked like miniature Canada geese walking around, and I was like, "What? Why does that goose look so small?" And it's the cackling goose, which is a hilarious name, but I'm excited for them.
One last question for you. As an amateur artist, I've often thought about submitting to the duck stamp competition just for fun. What advice would you give to anyone else who's thinking about submitting for the first time?
Well, first of all, I really hope you do. Any advice? I would say literally just have fun with it. I know that the first time I entered, I was very naive. I was like, I guess 19 or 20, but I was like, I could win this. And then it's super humbling. Like, no, I cannot. I got 5 out of 5 outs. I did as poor as I could possibly do. But even if that is the case, even if you know you will get 5 out of 5 outs, and that's the end of it, and you paid $125 to be told no, just being a part of the community and like having other people see your work and stuff is totally worth it. And I think it's a great just a challenge for yourself. And I know it can be kind of intimidating with all the rules and everything, but I would just suggest reading the document of the rules, fully understanding, and then just strictly having fun. Because if you're not having fun painting the duck, then there's like really no point in doing it. As for any other advice, I don't know. I guess just pick a medium that you're comfortable with and go for it.
We just want to say thank you again to Kira for agreeing to speak with us today about their take on the federal duck stamp competition. If you want to learn more about Kira and their work, we'll leave some links in the description below where you can find their website and social media accounts. We hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, happy collecting.